I move to the question number 9. Which one of the following pairs of types of soil erosion forms V-shaped ditches? So when soil undergoes erosion, of course, soil erosion is the carrying away of top fertile soil by wind or water, and then it is deposited somewhere else. So when soil is swept away, maybe soil which was here is carried away and deposited there by flowing water, we say that that soil has been eroded. So that's what we call soil erosion. In this case, we have various types of erosion. We have the first one, splash. We have sheet erosion. We have rill erosion. And then we have the gully erosion. So those are the three types of soil erosion that we have. So for splash erosion, water droplets will be falling and hitting soil particles. So when water droplet falls, it hits the soil particles. These particles are seen to move away. They are detached, and so they move away from there and are dropped somewhere else. So when this happens continuously, you will find some hole left as a result of splash erosion. So we will mostly find this in places which are under some trees or under the rooftops. Maybe if you have a house, check in line with the roof, you'll always find very many holes created there along that line. That is as a result of splash erosion. At least it's better even to control it. The best way of controlling this is by mulching. You can mulch, or you can have cover crops like grass, because soil will not easily get detached when you plant a cover crop in a given area. So it is as simple as that. We go to the next type of soil erosion, which is sheet. This is mostly experienced on a bare flatland. We will mostly see it on a bare flatland, not easily noticed. So that is another thing. It's not easy to notice this type of erosion because it sweeps uniformly. So what happens here? You will find that this sweeps a uniform layer of the soil. For example, you will find that if this is some land within, this is soil, you will find that this whole layer of soil is swept and moved somewhere there. So you may not easily notice that. And it can be in form of a landslide. In form of a landslide, that is the extreme cases of sheet erosion, and that is very dangerous when it comes to that point. Yeah, the next type of erosion. The next type of erosion is the rill. Now, for rill erosion, here we will mostly see some small narrow channels. We will see small narrow channels which are forming as water flows, and if this is not controlled, the narrow channels may develop into a gully. So it may develop into a gully that is now very deep channel. So we expect that for rill erosion, if that is the piece of, you will see some narrow channels forming on that. And then if you don't control it, they will dig deeper and deeper, and then they form gully. One better way of controlling this is by terracing. That will control that. You do terraces. Yes. For sheet erosion, you can do mulching. You can also plant cover crops. That will control sheet erosion. So that is terracing. And maybe the last type of erosion is what I will call the gully. Now these are the deep V-shaped or U-shaped trenches. So you will mostly find these ones forming along the paths where people, it starts as a normal path and then it digs and continues until it becomes a very deep trench which has the V shape. like that, something like that. So it can take the V shape here, or it can form the U shape like that one there. So we expect that. Now that is what we call gully erosion. It's so deep that it may turn into a stream and water begins to flow there, as long as it gets the the source of water in that case. So apart from that, you can mostly experience that along the paths, or some path which is mostly followed by animals. So we can best control this by building gabions. So we better build gabions that will tend to control gully erosion. So gabions, or they are also called the check dams or porous dams. So all those are names. You can call it gabion, check dam, or porous dams. So when you build that, it will tend to, like along that, I can erect one, and then that will tend to control that, so that soil is deposited there and they are not swept away. So based on that, here I will say my answer is gully erosion. So that is that. The next question here says, so which of the following nutritional deficiency diseases is more likely to be suffered by mothers of newly born babies? Now look at this. More likely to be suffered by mothers. So this is an adult. So even as you look at that, there are points to consider. To start with, it is a nutritional deficiency disease. So we have kwashiorkor, marasmus, anemia, and rickets. Kwashiorkor. This is a disease of children, not adults, not mothers. So this attacks children, and their age should be between 1 to 5 years. And it is caused by lack of proteins. All these points have disqualified kwashiorkor, because you succumb to it when you lack proteins. Now I look at the mother of a newly born baby. A newly born baby, then it means that maybe this mother has lost some blood, maybe during the process of parturition or giving birth and all that. So because of that, the disease they're likely to suffer from should be a disease which is blood related, and it is for the adults. So kwashiorkor is out of focus. Let's look at the next disease, which is marasmus. Marasmus is also a disease of the children. It attacks children, and it is caused by what we call malnutrition. Malnutrition here, it does not mean that you lack a specific nutrient in the body, but it is caused by lack of balanced diet. Lack of balanced diet, that is all types of food missing in your diet, then you're likely to suffer from marasmus. So it can be as a result of starvation or inadequate food that causes marasmus in children. So again, I will eliminate that. So those two diseases are already eliminated. Anemia, this is caused by less amount of blood supply in the body. You see, this is the disease that this mother is likely to suffer from, not in children. Provided you don't have enough supply of blood, then you suffer from anemia. So the mother is likely to suffer from anemia. Of course, we have rickets next. For this, is a disease where the bones become soft and crooked, somehow bow-shaped, mostly when you lack calcium. Here you lack iron in the body. So this is caused by lack of calcium. Anemia is caused by lack of iron. So maybe apart from calcium, we add vitamin D, and much more. We will see that in another discussion. Number 11. We have 3 categories of food in the body. We have proteins or bodybuilding. You need to know the sources of proteins or bodybuilding food. I will look at 2 major sources here. The first one, we get them from legumes, and then we get it from animal products. So legumes, these crops that grow in pods, like beans, the groundnuts, the cashew nuts, all that, source of proteins. And then any animal product that we take is a source of protein. Meat, omena, milk. Even if you eat these insects that people eat, like the locusts, that is a very rich source of protein as well. We don't have to be invaded. We can use them for food. We have carbohydrates. These are energy giving food. In this category, we will put cereals. We will add tubers, fats and oils, sugars, and then green banana. Those are sources of carbohydrates for the body. We will expand on that. So mostly we will call this starch in most cases. And then the last category are the vitamins, which we get purely from fruits and vegetables. So that is where we get that food from. So let's see the sources of fats. Now fats we know is the solid one. Remember, we have fat, but we also have oil. Sources of fats, we mostly get it from animals. And animal fat here, we have butter, cheese, bacon, and ghee. But we also have from vegetables. Sources of fats from vegetables, we have margarine, coconut, cashew nuts, avocados, salads, and cooking fats. Sources of oil in this case, oil is the liquid one that is at room temperature. It exists as a liquid. And so we majorly get oils from plants. And so the plants which give us oil, we have sunflower, we have maize, which is also called corn, we have simsim, cotton, palm. Actually, I'll use cotton seed, palm, and coconut. So those are the sources of oil in plants. But we also have an animal oil, and that we get called liver oil, which we get from fish. So looking at that, we see that sunflower is a very good source of oil, and it is also a source of protein. So looking at the question, we were asked which one of the following foods is more rich in both proteins and fats. So that says that we want what contains both protein and fats. And look at where the stress is, more and both. So looking at that, it tells us that we could have more than one which contains both of them. And yes, it is true, because we have milk and we also have sunflower. But now the one which contains more of proteins and fats is sunflower when we compare the two. Of course, milk has about 1% of fats. Question 12. So question 12 talks about special sound. So what is a special sound? So this is sound that is meant to alert or notify. Is sound that is meant to alert or notify you of something. And so such sounds require response. They want us to respond in a way. And I will just give you a very quick example. We have a hooting car. We have the siren, which can come from an ambulance. It can come from the fire engine, or it can come from the police car. We have screaming. We have a ringing telephone, and so on. So let us look at these sounds. These are some of what we would call special sounds. For example, when the car hoots, it definitely tells you to move out of the way. So you should do something when you hear that sound. The siren from an ambulance, from the fire engine, or from a police car, definitely they are telling you to give way. Maybe there is an emergency, and so you need to act quick. Maybe if you are another road user, you keep off until they pass. When someone is screaming, they need help. Something is happening. So that is a special sound. We need to act. A ringing telephone also tells us that we are being called. Maybe someone is waiting. We need to pick and receive. So it wants us to act. And there is another one that is a ringing bell. A ringing bell. So when the bell rings again, it reminds us that there is something that should be done. If it was in a school setup, maybe it is time for some event. You need to get out, you need to go to class, you need to end a lesson. And if it is in an office and the bell rings, maybe there is fire outbreak. And so you also need to act accordingly. So these are some of the special sounds that we have. Now, hooting car, fire engine, ringing bell are special sounds. But a moving tractor, obviously every tractor that moves, every vehicle that moves, produces that sound. So when it passes and it produces that sound, what should you do? Nothing. Because it will always produce that. It does not alert us of anything. A crying baby, I may not consider this a special sound, because babies will always cry even when there is nothing happening. Yes, they try to express their discomfort by crying, but even when nothing happens, babies cry. But when an adult is crying, then I think that is different. You need to consider cases according to the examination setup and the choices that you've been given. But a baby screaming, now that is different. A baby screaming, there should be cause for an alarm, because now that is different. Something may be happening to the baby.